Welcome back to Storytime with Quefish. I know that everybody got a look at the video today, which was, of course, amazing. And Kirsty, as well as many others. You know, I'm not singling Kirsty out because she's the only one. I've actually read a number, but I'm kind of on the I was gonna say Kirsty payroll, but that didn't sound right. I'm kind of a loyalist when it comes to reading Kirsty's stories. So I was absolutely not prepared to start when I started, but I did anyway. So I am going to be drinking tonight. I took a really nasty fall earlier today, and banged up my knee like to hell and back. So I'm definitely drinking tonight. Don't worry, I haven't taken any like pain meds or anything like that. I'm not double dipping on the relief, so to speak. But I have quite a bit around me. I'm probably going to start with a couple shots of Jaeger. I have vanilla milkshake, which I can either put Bailey's or Irish cream or Chambord in. Also, I will look to see who gave me this recipe before I actually do it, but somebody gave me a recipe for red wine, Chambord, and Sprite. That terrifies me, but I have all of the ingredients, so I will give that a shot too. So I'm going to get started on the drinking. I'm starting a little bit late tonight because of the whole fall thing. It's pretty bad. Not the Jägermeister. That's delightful. But my knee is just wrecked. My hands too, actually. You can't tell, but my palms are like, well, I guess you can tell a little bit. The heel of my hands are bruised from where my fat ass tried to catch myself. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna find Kirsty's stories, and then I'm gonna read them. And that's really the exciting part. Nobody cares about 3 minutes of my bullshit. So, transition. I will never be able to do that right because I don't edit my videos. So I've had some not Chambord. I've had some Jaeger, and that was delightful. Oh crap, I meant to look up who gave me that recipe. Let me find out who gave me the recipe. Yes, probably, wait a minute, isn't there some way for me to see comments? I'm not good at this at all. Comments. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so, Raven Diana. Okay. At a club I used to go to, there was a drink called a bloodbath. Yes, it was a goth club. I would not have guessed that. Red wine, Chambord, and Sprite. There are no, what's the word I'm looking for? Measurements there, so I'm gonna eyeball it and see what happens. So here is, I got something called Playtime, which has Crowley on the front. You'll find that very rarely am I not buying wine based on what it's called or by how cool it looks. Because I'm not very whiny. I'm very whiny, but I'm not very whiny. And so I don't really know what constitutes good and bad. You know what? That does not smell bad. Not like that Whispering Angel. That stuff was not good. Alright, that's not bad. I have this amazingly childish cup. So, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this is the worst idea I've ever had, which wasn't my idea, so I don't take any blame. No blame, no constructive criticism. So, cork that, so that way it doesn't spill. And now, I have Chambord, which I have always loved Chambord. Chambord is amazing. I'll be very upset if I cannot open it. There we go. Oh my God. So we're gonna eyeball this. I don't know measurements. And Sprite. I don't actually have Sprite. I have 7-Up, but it is in fact the same thing. And I will fight anyone who says, oh, it's not the same thing. It's different companies, but it's the same thing. All right, peeps. Wish me luck. I feel like I should stir this, but I don't have anything stirry. Oh, I do have something stirry. Is it better or worse if I drink alcohol with a straw? Oh. Oh, that's not disappointing. Oh, that's really not disappointing at all. Okay, so I've subjected you to over 8 minutes of bullshit. I'm going to go ahead and read a story now. This one is, as I mentioned, Kirsty, Gay Demonic Disaster. And this is her Safe for Work offering after the Good Omens lockdown video that was put out. If you haven't seen it, why are you watching my video instead? This one is called Slither Over and Watch You Eat Cake. Summary. Happy 30th anniversary, Good Omens. With a huge thanks to Neil Gaiman, the late, great Sir Terry Pratchett, Rob Wilkins, Doug McKinnon, Michael Sheen, and David Tennant for making us such a sweet little gift on YouTube for the occasion. Here's my take on what happened after the phone call between them. Safe for Work fluff. After the first phone call, Crowley had been dithering, sitting uneasily in his throne, regretting the comment about sleeping in till July. It wasn't like it was the first time they'd ridden out a plague together, and it probably wouldn't be the last. Although, admittedly, they'd gotten less frequent since Pestilence retired. Unfortunately, the bastard liked to haul himself back out of retirement again from time to time. Life was so blessed boring without the angel. He sighed theatrically. He was a snake. Spring and summer were no time for hibernating. If he had to while away the hours somewhere, he'd much rather do it on a comfortable, dusty old sofa in the angel's bookshop, listening to the comforting sounds of Aziraphale sipping tea, nibbling treats, and flipping pages quietly. He made a decision. He picked up the phone again. The phone in the bookshop jangled, abruptly startling Aziraphale from his reading. The cake crumb festooned plate on his knee clattered to the floor with a jangle of fork on crockery. He plucked up the receiver once more. He'd only put it down a few minutes ago. In those few minutes, however, it would appear that Crowley had been overthinking things slightly. You know, earlier when I said I could slither over and watch you eat cake? Yes? Well, I mean, we can't get sick anyway. There wouldn't be much harm in it, really, would there? It's gotta be more interesting than sleeping until July. Oh, Crowley, that would be delightful, but I did already say that would be breaking the rules. Since when have you been above a little rule-breaking, Angel? I swear you do it more often than I do. Preposterous. Angel, not 20 minutes ago, you were trying to tempt me into going out and setting a bad example, telling people there's a party on and such like. Aziraphale pursed his lips slightly. Well, nobody would ever have to know. Well, when you put it like that, he fidgeted the telephone cord anxiously. Just make sure nobody notices you, dear boy. Right, I'll bring a case of something quaffable. See you in 10. Marvelous. Cheerio. He replaced the receiver, a smug smile suffusing his features, then set about tidying the dropped plate and crumbs. A little while later, the letterbox rattled. Aziraphale was puzzled. The post had already been today. He glanced toward the door in time to see an unusually small black and red snake fall to the floor from the letterbox, then blossom up into a fully fledged demon. Well, not technically fully fledged, as no wings were in evidence, but a demon nonetheless. He slipped his shades off, snapped his fingers, and a crate of wine appeared next to him. He winked at the angel. Told you I'd slither over. Bit less obvious than the Bentley. No one notices a dark little snake hiding in corners and gutters. He grinned easily and sauntered over to the sofa and collapsed down onto it in an untidy pile of angular limbs. Aziraphale investigated the contents of the crate and selected a bottle with interest. Oh, marvelous vintage, Crowley. Shall I? Crowley nodded with a wave, and the angel miracled up a corkscrew. I'll just open it and let it breathe a while I finish my tea. May I tempt you to some cake? Crowley regarded the table heaving with baked goods. He may eat little, and rarely, but there was a particularly delectable-looking angel's food cake on display, and he had been partial to it in the past. Not quite as delectable as the actual angel, of course, but you couldn't have everything. He sat up and reached over to cut himself a slice. Aziraphale selected a slice of raspberry tort for himself, and sat back in his office chair to enjoy it. Crowley swallowed hurriedly, then plucked his shades from his top pocket and hastily donned them again. Aziraphale gave him a puzzled look, fork still halfway to his mouth. Crowley? You removed your glasses when you came in, then just put them back on again? Yeah. Oh, but nothing. It just seemed unusual. Don't mind me. Do go on. He nodded at Crowley's plate. The demon took another bite, rather slower, without looking at his own plate. His gaze was fixed on Aziraphale's fork. Crowley observed the angel quietly from behind the relative anonymity of his shades, gazing rapt as the first forkful of food was delicately conveyed to Aziraphale's mouth, then chewed with a determination to savor every aspect of the flavor. The entire experience accompanied by those delightful little noises and happy wiggles in his seat. Crowley kept a carefully straight face. He'd quite forgotten about his own food. Unfortunately, Aziraphale had noticed. Is it quite all right, Crowley? What, pardon? The cake. Is it quite all right? Oh, cake. Yes, cake. Right. Yep. Nice. Delish. Thanks. He took another bite. It was actually very good. It just wasn't quite as good as watching Aziraphale enjoy his own cake. He slowly cleared his plate, then set it aside and poured the wine for both of them, then passed a glass to Aziraphale, who took it graciously. Thank you, my dear. Crowley chinked his glass against the rim of Aziraphale's. Cheers. He slid back onto the sofa again with a sigh. He'd missed this. He'd been going stir-crazy rattling around his enormous apartment. It was so much nicer to be ensconced in the warm comfort of the bookshop, with all its soothing scents of old paper and vanilla, not to mention the new and enchanting smells of baking bread and other delicacies. It felt like home. Aziraphale noted the demon's empty plate. May I cut you a slice of something else? Crowley took in the spread with trepidation. If I help you eat all of this, I'll end up sleeping it off for a month regardless. That'll do me for now, thanks. But do have something else yourself, he urged. Aziraphale needed no encouragement to select some Victoria sponge. Crowley continued to enjoy the spectacle, hiding his small traitorous smile behind his wineglass. They chatted, they drank. More cake was consumed. Crowley did allow the angel to tempt him to a couple more slices of various offerings, until his serpentine aspect demanded that he take a nap anyway while he digested it all. He slouched back on the sofa, hearing the gentle ticking of the long case clock, the turning of pages, and soft breathing of angel, and drifted off. Aziraphale looked up from his book and cast a fond glance over the somnolent demon gracing his settee. I probably pronounce that differently every single time I say it. This was immeasurably better than the past couple weeks had been. Even introverts needed some company now and then. He stood and approached the sofa, gazing down at the peacefully sleeping Crowley, and couldn't resist reaching out, just the once, to brush his fingers against that shock of red hair, soft under his touch. Crowley murmured in his sleep, and a happy little smile quirked the corners of his lips. Aziraphale smiled back, miracled up a warm blanket, and draped it gently over Crowley's lanky form, feeling a warm glow of contentment at the sight before a thought occurred to him. He first made sure his wine and book were closer to the sofa. Then, ever so carefully, lifted Crowley's legs, sat down on the sofa next to him, then lowered Crowley's long legs back to rest on his lap. He picked up his book again and started to read, utterly content. First of all, I love this. It's adorable. But I just realized, I think that at the beginning, I said that this was a cold read. And it wasn't until the last line of moving his legs that I realized that I did read it earlier today. But apparently it was thoroughly wiped from my mind in light of all of my own bullshit problems today. So, it was not a cold read. But in a way it was a cold read. But it was delightful. I loved it. So, that was part 1 of Drunk Storytime with Quefish. I will be back very soon. I'm going to let a little bit more alcohol get in before I go on to the not safe for work version from Kirsty. So, thank you for joining me.